In my collection I do own a couple of Game Boys. There are none of those I basically modded. I know I can do it myself, but I don't have the time and don't have the, let's say, the tools for it at this moment. So I recently picked up a couple of cool Game Boys. It's not this one, because this one already owned in my collection for some time. Yeah, I picked it up back in the day, like with a trade, and this one does look absolutely amazing. There is a little bit of, let's say, scratches on the front screen, but beside that, everything seems to be working just fine. And now you wonder, like, why did you buy a couple of more Game Boys? Yeah, they're quite simple. I love Game Boy. I just playing this, just this brick is still one of my favorite ones. It's very comfortable for my hands for also a long time. This is not my childhood one, simply because the one I had in my childhood was absolutely completely destroyed due of like the crazy amount of hours I played on it. I just wanted to check it out. What are we going to get from my fellow like collector, but also like creator of the Game Boys, because this guy makes some pretty damn cool stuff. Okay, so first of all, like, we're not going to talk about this one because this one is already like a little bit older in my collection, but I just wanted to show you also different options. So this is one of the cool ones I picked up, and yeah, not going to show you instantly what it is. I just wanted to unbox a couple of them. This is another cool favorite one of mine. And then over here we're having like another one. And this is the one I particularly wanted to start with. So I did talk with the guy, and he said to me, like, there is not a lot of, let's say, people buying this. And I completely understand. The Level Up mods makes basically every single mod out there. But I just love this translucent shell in combination with the logo over here. But as you go into powering it up, you can just see that it does have like a basic backlight. I really love to have like the original color that looks almost identical, just give me like an original feeling. So when it comes to the translucent case, this thing looks absolutely amazing. I can just do a quick teardown for you guys, but then again, you can basically see everything. So what I understand of, he completely like recapped it if needed, and also like cleaned it up in the inside. And the backlight just gives you more still the nostalgia feeling, but it is better than the original one, because oh man, playing with an extra light on is not for this. Like, that's not the way you want to play nowadays. One of the things I really like is just giving you a little bit of an old school vibe to it. Also, another thing is what you need to take consideration when you're getting these shells. I have noticed like there are a little bit differences between the D-pad and the button input. You can just feel every single like kind of a different shell feel differently. But beside that, I really enjoy playing on this. Oh man, I wish I had this back in the 90s. So another one I added to my collection is a Game Boy version I really wanted to have in my collection for a very long time, and that is this Kirby one. I did speak with him, and he said like this is a very expensive shell basically, because they were made by Retro Modding, very unique, and I love the Kirby theme. But of course this thing isn't like your typical Game Boy, so this is basically the next level. And what do I mean with this? This thing has like a beautiful LCD IPS display, and this is just a completely different way to play. Level Up Mod did an amazing job at this, putting this thing together, and it's absolutely great. But when you're going to put them side by side, let me know in the comments, and that is something I'm really curious what other people think about. Like, what kind of, like, say, configuration do you want? Do you have like the backlight over here and just have like this old school nostalgia feeling? Or do you want to have basically like the LCD and it has so much different, let's say, just a different way of playing? Okay, so pink is basically like the color that matches the best of the Game Boy. But the thing is, like, I personally noticed that this shell completely plays differently. But I don't know to be sure like if this is like the ultimate way to play. I really love like the LCD display. Even like if you're going to put it on an angle like I'm doing now, it looks absolutely amazing. And there was one handheld I have never owned, and that is the one I just wanted to have in my collection, and that is this particular version. This is the Game Boy Pocket. Yeah, and I must say that this thing is the next level when it comes to modding. So we're having like the Kirby version that looks kind of cool and have like this beautiful display. So when it comes to this particular version, we are even having like a built-in, let's say, battery. Something that I really miss with a lot of these devices. And we even have like wireless charging. That's kind of cool. It's a complete like overkill when it comes to the mod, but nevertheless I think it's very cool. So we do have like the original sticker that they even put back on here, or it's a new one. So it gives more like this authentic feeling. I personally really love like this, just the slim and how this thing looked. I can still remember like having the original Game Boy, looking at this in the store. I was more like, yeah, should I pick it up? Because this thing looks so much better. Of course, if you're going to power it on, we do have like the same kind of display color, but there's like different ways to basically change that one out. The display, I must say that when you're going to be comparing this with the other version I'm having over here, there are some significant differences. Like the quality, it's just kind of interesting to see like how the difference is. Like basically I can count the pixels over here. So over there, then we're going to have like different quality displays. I only had like one of them on stock, because there were not like a lot of people want to have like in Game Boy Pocket with all of these mods. Of course the Wicked want to have that. So what I really loved about this version, that we can just tap and get different colors and just change it out. I must say that the gray version and also the brown, I'm getting more like a nostalgia vibe going on. Whoa, that one was really nice. The black and white, but you can see like there are so many freaking different colors that we can get. Let's see if we can get like still the black and white version, because that one looked really cool. No, I cannot find it anymore. Man, there are so many freaking different choices. Oh, there we have it. Wow, that looks pretty damn wicked. Let's boot it up. That looks absolutely horrible. Let's change it back. Oh, there we go. Still one of my favorite colors, to be honest. Now, what I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison with the Game Boy or the backlight and the LCD. Of course, the LCD looks so much more cleaner. But again, like it's more like a personal preference. I really love this big bad boy. And of course, we can just get myself like an LCD modeled one with the same kind of colors if you want to. But again, like it's not the point. I love this case, but I also love the Pocket for what it is. Okay, this is the one I didn't really pick up when it comes to, let's say, level up mods. I bought it secondhand from another seller, and I must say that I was very pleased with this. I do have like the original Game Boy Color laying around somewhere, and I must say that when looking at it, yeah, it looks so much different when it comes to the Game Boy Color. This also has like some very cool features to it. To begin with, what I did like about this thing, that we have like of course the color games. Didn't have the built-in battery. I think there were some options out there that you can pick up. And the design in general, I really loved it. Like where it is so flat and everything is not like that less comfortable. They did change it out when it comes to the color itself. Of course, we're having the option to have color games. Another cool thing is that when you're booting it up, you can see the Game Boy logo is basically like booting up over there. You couldn't see it because I was messing around with the brightness too much. Then you can also tap over here. But this is such a cool detail. Like all these cool mods you can do it. I also know that there are even people like putting in light up buttons. It's absolutely nuts if you think about it. So if you're going to play my favorite pinball game, Revenge of the Gator, there we're going to have like even better. Like look at this. Like the colors, it's not even a color game, but it looks so much better. The volume is a little bit disappointing. I think the older version goes off way louder. But again, that is something I really want to improve in this particular version. So for me, like the Game Boy Color I'm having over here is like the next level, or the next thing I really love about when it comes to Game Boys. My number one will always be the Classic, but the Color is one of those handhelds I really enjoy playing. But then of course we have another one. But then of course we're having the Game Boy Advance, and this is one of the main reasons why he doesn't sell a lot of these Game Boys. Or he said like the Game Boy Advance is more like the most popular one he's selling. And completely understand, because this thing is backwards compatible and has basically every option. I did own myself a Game Boy Advance back in the day, but I didn't like, I think I even traded off for something else. And the reason why is very simple. I didn't play much on it back in the day. I loved it for what it is. The 32-bit games were freaking awesome. Yeah, I already mentioned before, it's like this thing was backwards compatible. So that makes, if you think about it, all of the other ones obsolete and not needed. So one of the things we can do, even having widescreen. But of course, we're also having like an audio boost when it comes to that. There is a modification for that too. But out of the box with the original speaker, it does sound pretty nice. Still the Game Advance, I love these wider, like I said, designs, and they feel quite comfortable. But when it comes to nostalgia, for me, like the Game Boy Classic, but also the Game Boy Color is one of the favorite ones I'm having over here. We live in an absolutely amazing time when it comes to Game Boys, and the reason why I'm saying it like that, like if you think about it, like how many different modifications are out there nowadays. But is this like the ultimate way to play? That is something we're also going to talk about in a different video. I got myself an analog pocket. The guy who I spoke with was completely like flabbergasted. I love this. So I'm curious if this thing is going to be my supreme Game Boy and make all of the other ones I'm showing here obsolete. That is something I'm going to talk about in a different video. I just wanted to focus on the Game Boys in general, what kind of option you're having out there. Yeah, Level Up Mod did an amazing job with some of these Game Boys, like the Kirby, the classic one over here, the Pocket. Absolutely great. Thanks for watching all. Thank you for subscribing. If you didn't do that, subscribe, hit the little bell. Would be great to see you in the next video.